What is going on, APA fans? Kim Coop here, back with week 6 of our APA Ascension match against the St. Louis Beartics and Coach eMburst. So yeah, currently we are 3-2 with a plus 12 differential. I think we're sitting at about 6th in the league right now, so we're in a good playoff spot since top 12 teams make playoffs. But ideally, we're going to try and shoot for top 4 because top 4 get a bye round 1, and that would be super nice. So, hopefully if we can have a good win here, we might be able to just barely creep into top 4. But in order to do that, we're going to have to get through a very bulky team from eMburst. He's got Mew as his number 1 pick, extremely versatile Pokemon. You can use it physically defensive, you can use it as a sweeper. He doesn't actually have it listed as his Z, so luckily we don't have to worry about like Munium Z, like Genesis Supernova coming out, or random Z moves from this thing. But of course this thing has phenomenal coverage, gets great status, can be a hazard remover, can do pretty much anything, and synchronizes, of course, a really annoying ability. If you toxic it toxics you back, that sort of stuff. So Mew, definitely a scary Pokemon to consider facing off against. Next, we got his Mega and Mega Altaria, phenomenal typing in Dragon Fairy. The Fairy typing, of course, makes it immune to Dragon type attacks, but it does open it up to, of course, really common attacks like Steel or Poison and stuff like that. We're also going to be able to smack this thing pretty hard. Although this thing does have dragon coverage, primarily it's going to be used as a fairy type attacker. So that's pretty much what I'm preparing for, is something like Hyper Voice plus Fire Blast, or Return plus Earthquake, depending on the set. But yeah, pretty bulky Pokemon. It's got access to a lot of different setup. You can Dragon Dance, you can Cotton Guard, be one of the really annoying Fizzly Wall, or you could just be like a physical sweeper. So yeah, a lot of ways you can go with Mega Altaria. It's definitely a versatile Pokemon to face. Speaking of versatile, we've also got Suicune here. Suicune, very dangerous Pokemon. It's got 2 really common sets in that are affectionately referred to in Smogon as Crocoon and Vincoon. So for those guys who don't know, Crocoon is Scald, Calm Mind, Rest, Sleep Talk, and Vincoon is Scald, Toxic, Sub, Protect. Both of them using pressure to try and stall out your opponent's PP, and yeah, eventually like your Scalds are just going to be able to do a lot. In the case of Crocoon, you had +6 Scald, is not really such thing as a resist other than like a water absorb Pokemon. And then with the Subtoxic Protect, Suicune actually has pretty good speed, so it can actually outspeed a lot of Pokemon and get up Sub Protect, stall things out of PP, get up a Toxic, and then Sub Protect stall. So yeah, definitely an annoying Pokemon to have to face off against. Another annoying Pokemon, Bronzong. 2 really good abilities in Heat Proof and Levitate. I would say in this game probably Levitate's better than Heat Proof, just because ground type attacks they do exist, and keeping Bronzong away from Earthquakes is pretty nice because the fire type weakness isn't that bad, and my opponent does have some decent support for it in Suicune and Mega Altaria. They do have good switch-ins to fire type attacks, but their ground type switch-ins are a lot more limited, so I do feel like Levitate is probably a more likely case for my opponent to run. But yeah, Bronzong, really annoying Pokemon. This guy access Trick Room, Screens, Explosion. It's really slow, so it's good to use for Gyro Ball, a lot of status moves, sets Stealth Rocks. And really the big thing for this match is that my Diancie cannot really hit it, whereas this Bronzong is a pretty hard counter to Diancie, assuming my opponent does like to run a more specially defensive Bronzong. So not looking forward to facing off against Bronzong. Killing that thing is definitely going to be probably the hardest part of this game. If I can kill it, Diancie looks pretty phenomenal in this matchup, just based on its speeds here and its coverage against my opponent's team. But in order to really put in work with stuff like Diancie or Latias, we're going to have to get rid of that Bronzong. Opponent's also got some nice dark types in Incineroar and Honchkrow. Incineroar is the Z attack Pokemon. Bronzong was the Z status Pokemon, I forgot to mention, but yeah, Incineroar is the attack Z, so it's definitely got a lot of good coverage moves that it can use offensively with the Z. However, Incineroar's speed's a bit low, and its bulk is okay, but not great, although the physical bulk is significantly helped out by the fact that it does have access to Intimidate. next 3 Pokemon, and then Honchkrow. I guess I'll go ahead and talk about that since I mentioned Dark types. Honchkrow is a good pursuiter for my opponent, so it wouldn't surprise me to see either Honchkrow or Incineroar to try and take care of my Latias. Honchkrow is probably a little bit better with access to huge attack, and then stuff like Sucker Punch and Pursuit. Incineroar doesn't get Pursuit, but Honchkrow does, so I think Honchkrow is probably a little bit better if you're really just trying to get rid of Latias for the rest of your team. Yeah, Honchkrow is definitely a really scary Pokemon. It doesn't have great bulk, it's not crazy fast, but it's just very, very strong and has good priority and support moves, like in the Pursuit. Next 3 picks for my opponent, the Virizion, the Heliolisk, and the Staraptor. Both add a lot of good speed tiers for my opponent, and both are really strong, or well, all 3 are really strong. Staraptor with Reckless is no switch-ins, either Choice Scarf or Choice Band variants. Reckless, Double Edge, Brave Bird. I don't really have switch-ins on my team, so Staraptor would be a pain if he brings it, but I don't think he will just because doesn't really have the best speeds here, and I have a lot of solid Pokemon that can't beat it 1v1, assuming, like, depending on its item. Heliolisk is also really nice for Volt Turn, but it is hard-walled by Ferrothorn, unless you're running HP Fire, so I'm also less inclined to think that's going to come, but it's just a really strong special attacker. I think it's got a speed tier of 109, so it's pretty fast, but again, it's not faster than my Diancie, it's not faster than my Latias, so he's forced to run a Choice Scarf on it if he wants to avoid being revenge killed by the stuff I have, so I just don't know if that's that great of a Pokemon. Virizion is a Pokemon that I definitely think is going to come. 108 base speed tier, can function as a physical or a special attacker. However, the one thing about Virizion is that it does have that 4 times weakness to flying. So despite the fact that it gets decent coverage and stuff like Zen Headbutt, Stone Edge to try and cover its flying and poison type weaknesses, it's just weak. Without a boost, it doesn't do a lot of damage, and so that's kind of the way you beat it. Is you just don't let it set up and you kill it before it can really Swords Dance or Calm Mind its way to threatening levels. I do definitely expect Virizion to come. I have a Blastoise, I have a Ferrothorn, I have a Quagsire. Virizion's going to do pretty well against all 3 of those things. Finally, the last 2 Pokemon. I got a nice Piloswine, another bulky Stealth Rock setter for my opponent. It's kind of like Mamoswine, except bulkier and not quite as strong and slower, and has a lot less item versatility in the fact that it's pretty much forced to run Eviolite, because otherwise the defensive stats and particularly special defense are just really not enough to keep it afloat against a lot of the stronger Pokemon that I have on my team and that just exist in draft league formats. So it's pretty limited to Eviolite, but it is a pretty reliable Stealth Rock setter and a nice electric immunity. Of course, having Ice Shard priority is always super nice whenever your opponent has dragons or ground types. So yeah, I'm not really sure the pilots want to come in. If my opponent wants to set rocks, which I do think they will, I think Bronzong is by far the better choice for my opponent. I don't really know what Piloswine adds to the team other than another fighting type weakness. So yeah, I just don't see Piloswine coming here this week. Finally, Lycanroc Dusk, another Pokemon I do expect to see. It's got the nice priority Accelerock to take care of stuff like Moltres. It has a pretty good speed tier in 110. And Tough Claws is just so nice for it with the Swords Dance boosting its contact moves like Fire Fang, Drill Run. I think it also gets Aerial Ace, Accelerock. Lycanroc Dusk can be extremely powerful after Swords Dance. So yeah, I definitely expect this thing to come really as a offensive check to stuff like Moltres for me, and also forcing speed ties against stuff like Diancie. Yeah. So that's kind of going through my opponent's team. I do expect to see some combination of Mega Altaria, Bronzong, Virizion, Lycanroc Dusk. Those are the 4 Pokemon I really expect to see, and then probably 2 more of Incineroar, Honchkrow, Mew, and Suicune. So that's kind of what I prep for, because I don't think Staraptor, Heliolisk, Piloswine are really that likely to come. Compared to the other 8 members, or other 7 members of my opponent's team. So let's just go into my team real quick, and then we'll go through the battle. So looking at my opponent's team, outside of the Mew and the Mega Altaria, my opponent has no close combat resists. Everything is either weak to it or takes neutral damage from it. So I figured Choice Scarf Moxie Heracross is going to be great, because if I could weaken Mega Altaria, or if I could get rid of Mew, we would be in a phenomenal position to just start Moxie sweeping with Choice Scarf Heracross. Close combat, of course, you can see it's the first move I'd put. Mega Horn's really there for stuff like Mew. Knockoff is there just to get rid of items. And it also hits something like Mew trying to switch in. But pretty much I'm only going to be clicking close combat and Mega Horn. Stone Edge is there if I really want to try and catch like Mega Altaria on a switch before it Mega Evolves. You know, like let's say I get a really favorable lead turn one, like I get, I don't know, Piloswine, or Incineroar versus Heracross lead, I could just try and click Stone Edge and try to catch that Mega Altaria. But you can see we're packing the Adamant Nature. Looking at my opponent's speed tiers, I didn't really see any reason to run Jolly's Choice Scarf. Since if my opponent wanted to run Choice Scarf on anything, like Heliolisk or Virizion or Staraptor or like Rock Dusk even, I don't think that would happen, but if my opponent wanted to run Choice Scarfers on there, there's no way I could outspeed them anyways, so I just wanted to outspeed the slowest possible Scarfer, so maybe something like Incineroar or Honchkrow, and Adamant was sufficient for that, so having extra power is going to be super nice in this game. Yeah, Adamant Scarf Moxie Heracross, hopefully can put in some work based on just the matchup. Our next Pokemon is our Latias, making another triumphant return. As you can see, this set is mono. Well, I had a Draco Meteor at the last minute. Before I had Substitute, and the reason I was running Substitute was to make sure that I could beat either Vincoon or Crocoon easily 1v1, because with Substitute I can block Toxic and then I can just Calm Mind up alongside it. However, the problem is that I have Psyshock, so which is going to hit the Suicune on the physical side, so even though it might be Calm Minding up, it has no way to boost its defense. So I'm going to be able to get +6 and then just bop that thing with the Psyshock. I took off Sub at the last second at a Draco Meteor just because I really didn't want to be walled by Honchkrow or Incineroar, because I really feared them coming and I was really afraid of getting Pursuit Trapped if I wasn't running Culprit Berry Latias. So yeah, that's where that Latias set came from. It's a pretty good check to Virizion as well, resisting both of Virizion's stabs, and like I said, also having the Psyshock. Virizion has pretty good special defense, but it has pretty bad Phys Def, so Psyshock is going to be hitting that thing really hard. Our Blastoise here got Rapid Spin, Scald, Roar, Refresh. Refresh is really just there to shrug off Toxics from something like Bronzong, so I can keep repeatedly switching Blastoise into Bronzong. I can Scald it, try to get a burn, stop Bronzong's leftovers recovery. If it likes to Toxic me, I can Refresh, and if it likes to set up Stealth Rocks, I can Rapid Spin the way, keep hazards off my side, and yeah, just basically keep chip down. The thing for my opponent is that they really do not have good hazard control. Their hazard control is Defog Mew, I think Defog Mega Altaria, Defog Staraptor. I don't actually know if Honchkrow gets Defog, but it has no reason to run Defog ever. And Staraptor running Defog is also not great. Mew having to run Defog kind of locks into more of a support role and keeps it from being quite as offensive. Same for Mega Altaria. So my opponent really has bad hazard control. So my game plan is to try and get up Stealth Rocks for myself. Take 25% off all of his flying weeks and just chip away at stuff. And I figured Rapid Spin would be a better way to make sure that I keep my hazards up, because that way, if I do need to get rid of Stealth Rocks, I don't have to get rid of mine as well. I can just get rid of his hazards on my side of the field. So yeah, that's our Blastoise. It also is there. It can also live a hit from +2 Life Orb like Rock Dusk. It's also nice, and it's also just a nice Incineroar pivot if I need. You can see our Ferrothorn creeping up just below the Blastoise there. Running especially defensive Ferrothorn. It can live Fire Blast from stuff like Mew and Mega Altaria pretty comfortably. And make sure that I can get up rocks. That's really a big thing. So also a decent Suicune check with the Bullet Seed for the purposes of pressure. Just that Bullet Seed just has a ton more PP than Power Whip, and also the ability to, if I get multiple hits, I can break the Substitute and actually hit the Suicune for damage on the same turn. Gyro Ball is really there for Mega Altaria in case I really need to hit that thing hard. And of course, Leech Seed just to help keep this thing alive, combined with leftovers. It's going to be recovering a lot of health per turn. But yeah, Ferrothorn's really just there as a rock setter and just a nice pivot into some of his offensive Pokemon that I don't really have great switch-ins to. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Ferrothorn. Last two Pokemon, we got Dynasty, rockin' Moonblast, Earth Power, Power Gem, Protect. Didn't like to go for hazards or setup on this guy this week. My speeds here with Dynasty is pretty darn good. I don't really need the Rock Polish, and pretty much no matter what I do, I'm going to be walled by Bronzong, so I'd rather just have 3 coverage moves. I can nail the Heliolisk with Earth Power if I need to, can nail Incineroar with Power Gem, and Moonblast is just going to hit everybody else pretty darn hard. But yeah, max speed just because my opponent does have 109 and 110 base speed tier, so being able to outspeed or force a speed tie against stuff like Heliolisk, Frisian, Lycanroc Dusk is really critical. Finally, our last Pokemon, our Firebird, making its return again after just picking up so many kills in the last 2 weeks, I guess. We got a nice heat set, Agility Roost, Fire Blast, Z Hurricane. The reason I opted to go for Agility was because my opponent really does not have great switch-ins to this. Like if he wants to try and revenge kill Moltres after like a Flame Charge was what I was thinking about running, because you know you have to have a Scarfer to revenge kill +1 speed Moltres, and something like Virizion with Scarf Stone Edge or Heliolisk with like Scarf Thunderbolt could be really annoying. But with Agility, I can be faster than everybody, and it can start wrecking shop with Fire Blast and Hurricane. Virision's going to get popped by Hurricane. Heliolisk with the Dry Skin is going to take a massive amount from Fire Blast. Yeah. Moltres is also there because it's a pretty nice Bronzong response, and decided to pack the Z Hurricane this week because Mega Altaria is going to get hit super hard by it, harder than anything else on my team, especially if he opts to run something like Cotton Guard Mega Altaria. This Moltres being able to resist most likely dual stab or a stab of Hyper Voice with Pixelate and then Fire Blast is super nice. Moltres should be able to wall this thing. If I can get off one Hurricane, I can put it into Z Hurricane range and hopefully just nuke the Mega Altaria and get rid of a huge threat for my team. But yeah, that's our team. It's kind of a long builder, but let's get into the battle right about now, huh? Alright, so here we are. Week 6 battle, taking on eMburst. We do not see the Mew, which is nice, and we do not see Heliolisk or Incineroar, so yeah. Pretty close to what I expected. But looking at this matchup, my opponent has one thing that is resist close combat, so I figured let's just go ahead and lay off with Scarf Heracross here, and we'll just see what happens here. More than likely he's just going to pivot into Altaria and Heracross, but if he doesn't, we can get a kill or get a ton of damage off on somebody. So let's get into it. So lead off with Heracross. My opponent opts to lead Lycanroc. So it was kind of funny because on this turn 1, my opponent was like, oh dang it, I ran the wrong item. I was kind of unsure about staying in here because I was like, oh, well, what if this is like Sash, Endeavor, Accelerock, or what if it's like Sash plus Aerial Ace or Sash plus Fire Fang, and it just gets rid of my Heracross turn 1. That would be a really crappy way to lose a win con. But when my opponent said, oh, I ran the wrong item, I was kind of like, oh, you know, maybe he just doesn't have Focus Sash on this. So maybe I can just get rid of this this Lycanroc turn 1 if he likes to stay in, and I don't need to worry about anything. I don't need to worry about getting Sash memed back against my Scarf Pokemon. Obviously, I know that I'm faster. He doesn't know that I'm faster. Best pivot for my opponent is into Altaria, but I'd rather just get damage off on that and see if I can figure out what kind of build it is, if it's more like a Fizz-Def Cotton Guard or if it's a sweeper based on how much damage I do to it. Anyways, I'm just going to close combat as he stays in. I'm guessing he had some way to Oko this and just didn't expect me to be Scarf. So I'm going to get rid of Lycanroc turn 1. So one turn down, got 1 kill, got a 1+1 boost. Sweet. My opponent really makes a play that didn't make any sense to me. They go Bronzong here. Bronzong was their response to Diancie, Latias. So I don't really understand why Bronzong came out here against a +1 Heracross that's obviously Choice Scarfed into close combat. You know that I'm Choice Scarfed into close combat and go out to your Fairy type in Altaria and resist this and chase me out. You get a free setup turn. But anyways, he goes out to Bronzong. Like I said, I'm not really sure why. I looked at my damage calc. I did like 90% to this thing with +1 close combat, assuming he has more of like a specially defensive build, which is what I would expect for Diancie. However, for my opponent, I do get an unfortunate critical hit, and it Okos him. So 2 turns in, we got 2 kills. We're up 6-4 with a +2 Heracross locked into close combat. He ended up telling me afterwards that he was like Iron Defense Bronzong. So I don't know what he went for. Like, if he went for Stealth Rock, then he was just trading his Bronzong for Stealth Rocks, which I could Rapid Spin away easily, and the rocks would never go back up once I killed the Bronzong. So, I don't know about that. If he went for Iron Defense, even the +2 defense, he would be too badly damaged to live another hit. So, I don't know about that play either. Obviously the crit sucked because I don't know what he went for. Maybe he had like Psychic and he was planning on just living and getting rid of this. But again, if he gives me 90% off in the Bronzong, I will gladly trade my Heracross for that, because that gets rid of the one Pokemon that's really stopping Diancie from just putting in a massive amount of work. So crit was unfortunate, but it was not the right play on this turn anyways. Altaria was 100% the play. Now, 2 turns too late, Altaria comes in. I'm just going to stay in here and click on a close combat, because I expect a setup to come out here. If he has Cotton Guard, he'll go for Cotton Guard. If he has Dragon Dance, he'll go for Dragon Dance. I'd rather just get off as much damage as possible on this thing and force like a Roost on the next turn. So I go for the close combat, does 55, tells me it's definitely a bulkier Altaria, as my opponent is going to opt to go for the Cotton Guard. So I'm like, okay, well, I forced a Roost at this point by doing 45 or 55%, so this gives me a free switch into Moltres. The logic also being behind this, if he's running Cotton Guard, he's got to be running Roost, and most likely he's going to have Hyper Voice and Fire Blast to take care of my Ferrothorn, and just his Hyper Voice is good stab. That hits my team pretty well. So I got to Moltres here as he Roosts. I'm just going to throw off the Hurricane here as I do hit. Opponent goes for Hyper Voice, just 22%. And here, I thought about the play for a little bit. But I figured it was just worth my time to try and just get rid, or it was worth the Z move to try and get rid of this Altaria right here. Because if he doesn't expect the Z, then he'll stay in and this Altaria is just going to be gone. Because you can see, Hurricane does 36%, right? Like, I obviously can't kill the... I did confuse it, but obviously this Moltres is, with Hurricane's mischance, is not going to be able to 1v1 this Altaria, assuming I don't have a Z. So he does just stay in here as I throw off the Z Hurricane. Goodbye Altaria. It is now turn 6. I'm up 6-3. This is looking incredible for me. He's going to bring on Suicune here. And here I considered going to Ferrothorn, but I actually figured that Blastoise is probably my better play, because if he opts to go for Toxic, I can refresh that away. If he opts to go for Calm Mind, I can just roar this guy out. So I figured Blastoise was a better play than Ferrothorn, as he does go for the Hidden Power Fire, it looks like. Given that my Blastoise resists it. I get a little bit of HP back here. And now, expecting him to go out to Virizion, I'm actually going to pull a pretty aggressive double out into my Heracross here. Get this Scarf Beast back in and start punching stuff. He's going to switch out into his Honchkrow. As I close combat, it takes 91%. I know that I'm faster because I'm Choice Scarf. I EV to be faster than this. I click close combat again. I get rid of this thing. I am now +1. Once more with Choice Scarf, I outspeed everything on my opponent's team, assuming none of his mons are Scarf. I've also gotten rid of the Honchkrow, which means that he has no way to stop my Calm Mind Psyshock Latias, and this is game, set, match. I'm just going to close combat here. I do 93% as he does knock me out with the Scald against my -3 defense Heracross. But now I bring in Latias here. I Psyshock, get rid of the Suicune. Didn't want to risk like an Ice Beam Freeze or anything. Virizion comes out. I just Calm Mind because this guaranteed makes it an Oko. It actually reveals X-Scissor, but because I'm bulkier, I do take it. Go for the Psyshock. As it turns out to be Focus Sash Virizion. It goes for the X-Scissor, doesn't crit, and I'm going to knock it out this turn for the nice 5-0. Latias picking up 2 more kills after Heracross got, what, 3? Yeah, we got a kill for Moltres, 3 kills for Heracross, and 2 for Latias. So, yeah, picking up another 5-0 win here. Definitely was a bit of a trickier matchup, just given how bulky everything was in my opponent's team, but, of course, big Moxie Heracross putting the team on its back and just breaking through this week. Yeah, so with that, we're on a 3-game win streak. We've actually moved up to 4-2, and so far in the standings for this week, we are tied for 4th now with a +17 differential. So someone else has been on a pretty good tear recently, and I think both their losses were 1-0. So, yeah, this was definitely got some luck in my favor, like with that critical hit. On the Bronzong, like I said, I'm really not sure what my opponent went for. If they like went for Iron Defense or Stealth Rocks, crit didn't matter at all because I was just going to 2-hit KO with the next turn. Like, I guess you can switch out and go into Altaria the next turn. No, you can go, probably could go into Altaria the next turn actually, and eat hits. But yeah, I mean, if you gave me that much damage on your Bronzong, you lost the game anyways, just to the fact that Diancie is like unstoppable at that point. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the crit sucked. I'm not going to lie, but Altaria was always the play there. So, yeah, that's about it, though. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. We'll be back next week with some Week 7 action, and hopefully we can keep up our winning streak. Till then, peace.